everyone, and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast, coming to you from Service Management 2015 in Sydney. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with co-host Suresh GP.
Hello.
Ivan McFarlane.
Hello, Rob.
And we're talking with Rob Eklund, also known as the IT Skeptic. Hi, Rob.
Hello. Good to be here. Yeah, Rob, you are without doubt the leading observer of our industry. At least that's what you told me to say.
That's right. I find it difficult to argue with that.
And so you've probably got a good view of the trends that are going on, what they actually mean. So what do you see happening at the moment?
Well, I'll try, yeah. So there's something that I'm really frustrated that I've been unable to nail, and I think nobody yet has adequately nailed that there's something profound going on in our industry, and it you know, that phrase, a paradigm shift, gets dreadfully overused, but I think there really is a paradigm shift. I really think there's a sea change, the like of which we've not seen for decades in our industry. And there are all these symptoms of it coming out. So there's bring your own device, shadow IT, dark IT, which is shadow IT we don't know anything about.
Yes.
Cloud, XaaS, so anything as a service, lean, agile, DevOps. There's all these things going on, and they're all symptoms that, if you track them back, they all go back to something, but no one has adequately defined what that something is yet. So I've been calling it the IT liberation movement, right? A bit like Women's Lib, you know.
Yeah.
It's as transformational IT as Women's Lib was to women, but all of it is about changing our attitudes to people. All of it is about empowering people and trusting people and treating people as adults and saying, yes, you can bring your own device. Yes, you can form a self-organising agile team. Yes, you can have access to production servers as a build team. Yes, you can just use a credit card to buy some server. You know, all these things in different ways. I think the common element is that it's liberating people in a way. It's IT's becoming less controlling and more empowering. Is that a...
Yeah, that seems to make sense. And it's, now you look at it, you can actually see those trends going back before they were spotted, as you always do with these things.
That's right, 2020 hindsight.
Yeah. I mean, I remember going back to the 1890s, well, like 1980s certainly, and it was revolutionary in UK government that government departments were allowed to buy their own computers. Before that, only the Treasury had bought them and allocated them out. And you can almost see that that was first steps. We're now past running and walking and into zooming along, and that trend going over.
So Rob, you have been, so we're using a lot of these frameworks or best practices and stuff like that. One of the things I also think is because everybody wants to be pioneering or championing a framework so that they can get business revenue. There's a kind of a considerable interest on that. So if you unearth that liberation at the end of the stuff, then probably we are scary that we might lose the business opportunities in this one. That's my perspective.
And it's a really hippie thing, right? So that's one of the other things I like about labelling it the liberation. It is a really hippie thing. So for a long time, DevOps refused to define themselves, right? And no one wanted to actually say what DevOps is, let alone Agile.
And it was really hard to find out.
Yeah. And Agile has its manifesto, but once again, there was a reluctance to codify Agile. It has happened, and Scrum, you know, the Scrum guide now is actually quite codified, for example. So, but there was this resistance. No. The moment you define it, you kill it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's setting the rules for anarchy.
Yeah. It is quite, and it's like the early days of the internet. You know, and so there is a resistance to putting a framework around any of this liberation stuff. There's a cultural resistance to it, but ultimately, business won't tolerate that. Right. Business won't tolerate something being uncodified. You know, like in the hypothetical we did yesterday, you know, I think another aspect of this is the huge clash between the cultures, so that an agile team says, you'll get what we give you, and the project culture of organisation says, define your deliverables, your benefits, and what it's going to cost me. And the agile team's like, well, I don't know exactly what we're going to give you. The benefits will probably be some of the following, assuming that we manage to blah. But give me some money and I'll give you something. It's like,
Yeah, I need to know what you're going to give me
That's-
and when you're going to give it to me
Yeah.
and what it's actually going to do and exactly how much it's going to cost.
Exactly, that's not
Yeah.
quite how business works. So
Yeah.
this is quite an interesting clash between the hippies and the business, if you
Yeah.
like. And so the liberation movement is finding ways around that. You know, cloud just happened, you know, people, and shadow IT is just happening.
Yeah.
And business is madly trying to put some structure and some discipline around that and some frameworks. And sort of backfilling. And the hippies don't like it, but they have to go along with it, or it happens despite them, I think is a better way of putting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that, what was it? Oh, back in the 70s there was a Monkeys TV program, and there was the great hippie movement, and it was, what we want is no rules, and you know what that means, don't you? Yeah, absolute chaos. And actually chaos isn't fun.
No,
And that's
chaos
one of the
isn't
interesting
fun,
things that
yeah.
come through this, because you can see that the business is saying, yeah, I understand that you want to do this, and I understand you want to be loving and feeling and smooth and busy, but I can see it's going to hurt me, so don't do it.
But on the flip side, from chaos comes emergent new interesting things. So it's finding that balance between letting stuff go sufficiently that stuff does spontaneously emerge, and empowering people. So, you know, one of the interesting aspects of this that I really like is Gene Kim talks about humane IT.
Yeah.
How it shouldn't suck to work in IT,
No.
right? You shouldn't be working 60-hour weeks. You should be coming out on the weekend to do installs.
And you shouldn't be stuck in a basement somewhere.
And you should be stuck, you know, it should just be a normal job. IT should be a normal job. And he talks about wanting to transform the lives of 1 million people, and he absolutely means it, right? That if we can make life better in IT. So, you know, I think there's that element of it too, that for years we've accepted culturally that we live this hideous life. And so I think there's an empowerment there too, to try and make new ways of doing IT that improve people's lifestyle.
It is interesting, and it's almost a self-electing group of masochistic victims. That, you know, you can't be successful if you're not really suffering. The analogy that interests me was that in the UK, certainly still, new doctors are expected to work 80-hour weeks and be miserable.
And sleep in the hospital somewhere.
In Russia, they had lots of doctors, they trained them well, they worked a 40-hour week. And there were just as good doctors. There didn't seem to be any difference except that one of them expected to be punished and the other, it was seen as a job, and now they were paid less. But they had real human lives. And it's exactly that kind of situation. If IT just becomes a job, then maybe I can't demand more money for it, and I'll have to do horrible things like be happy.
So I do like the anarchy. I mean, I like the fact that it's throwing everything up in the air and revisiting things, and that we can challenge some of our assumptions, like, yes, we should be treated like dogs in our job, and that, you know, and challenging that. And I do like the fact that it empowers people, and I think there's this shift from clerical work to knowledge work, you know, that people are treated more as adults and professionals and empowered, and that's a good thing too. So, and so then there's this clash between the cultures, and that for me, that zone where they collide, that crunching of the gears, that's my area of fascination, is to work out
It's that sweet spot.
the friction point, right? How do we remove those friction points so that these wonderful new ideas, especially DevOps, can be absorbed into our traditional environments, and we can extract the value without, you know, tie-dyeing our clothes and painting.
I mean, what it ultimately is all about is actually really decreasing that time to value, isn't it? It's actually shortening the period from idea to business value. And you need to liberate things to be able to
And some
do
of
that.
it, surely the classic problem is that we talk about value, but we don't deliver value in a measurable way.
Yeah.
And the business, to be fair, talks about value, but doesn't receive it in a measurable way either. So I think the time to value has so far been about 100 years.
Yeah, we're still waiting in some places.
So Rob, every year I see one of the topics being a popular hit from your side. I mean, we expect something to be released from Rob, so it could be standard plus case and stuff. So what is this year's theme in the way that you're looking at?
Yeah, I don't have these ideas, I just find them, right? But like stones on the beach, right? But so I've talked a lot this year about multi-speed,
Right.
you know, and we talked about that
Yeah,
the
at the New
previous.
Zealand
there was-
conference, yeah.
There's a previous one of these folks, right?
Yeah.
Talking about multi-speed. So that's one. But this liberation thing is going into the future. Is I want to talk more to thinkers like yourselves and listen more around the industry and try and wait. I'm waiting for. You're going to write about this. You mentioned to us beforehand.
There was the blog that I actually had written and put to be published by an organisation that didn't publish it in the end, and I've just remembered about it. And I'm a physicist by background, and I was thinking there's a Scottish physicist called James Clerk Maxwell who looked at optics and looked at electricity and looked at magnetism, where groups of people were working and researching. And he managed to sit back and say, you realise that they're all the same thing, don't you? And came up with Maxwell's laws of electromagnetism. And it seems to me that in our industry we're crying out for a Maxwell.
Yes.
Say, these three things that you all think are separate, you do realise they're all part of the same thing.
Yeah, so all those liberation things I
Yes.
talked about,
Yeah.
BYOD, Shadow
Yeah.
IT, Cloud, Lean, Agile, DevOps, they all pointing back,
Yes.
somebody
They're all back
needs to
one
find
thing.
that.
Yeah. Find that actual connection where they actually collide.
Well, and when you take the physics analogy on, electromagnetism is actually, it turns out, one part of something else that's all the same thing. So even physics has got on to unified theories and the rest of it. In IT, we aren't even at the Maxwell stage yet.
No.
So that's the adventure for this
Yep.
year, is to try and
Multi-speed.
To say about liberation.
See someone
Yeah,
nail
see,
that.
yeah, that'd be nice to see. Well, thanks a lot for your time, Rob. A
No
pleasure
problem.
speaking with you as always, and I'm sure we'll get the chance to chat again in the future.
I look forward to that.
Thanks, Rob.